Hi, friends. Welcome to the Pierced by Love podcast. I'm Rhonda Slater. So glad you're here. Today, I have my friend James Bedwell with me. James is a missionary in Kenya. But we were just talking that he's just James Bedwell. I'm just Rhonda Slater. We're just ordinary people. But I will tell you that James is doing extraordinary things in Kenya for the Lord. Thank you so much for being here, James. I'm so happy to have you.
Yeah, so glad I could be on today and so glad that everything's working here in Kenya as it doesn't always work well. So happy to join you today.
Yeah, anytime you're in a foreign country and you're kind of in a new territory. I know you've been working with Kenya a lot, but you just moved there. How long ago?
We've been here just over 2 months now. We
Wow.
came in late July.
Okay. Okay.
So
And per at this recording, we are in October of 25. And so you've been there a couple of months, but you did some work, some groundwork, and I love what you're doing. And we do want to hear that. It's really cool stuff, just pouring into the people out there, and you cultivated spiritual children even out there. So you've really poured a lot of yourself and your family too, because your whole family's there, right?
yeah, we all moved out together.
That's beautiful. Our goal, and we were talking about this a little bit too, is to equip others to be able to do what we're doing. Because no one that I have on this podcast, including myself, stands on a pedestal and says, "Look how great I am. No one else can do this. Look at me. I'm fantastic. God loves me more than anybody else." You know? So we are people that just say, "Hey, I'm a real person. I have a real story. I have a background that I didn't always follow the Lord. Maybe I didn't even grow up in church. But look at what God has done. And there's nothing that we're doing that you can't do. If God has called you to it, be everything that God has called you to be. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. It's like where did you come from and how did you get to where you are, to moving your whole family to Kenya to pour it out for the Lord. So will you share with us a little bit about, I don't know, maybe your upbringing, how you grew up? Did you grow up in church, or what a little bit about what that was like for you?
Yeah, sure. So interestingly enough, I grew up in a very small town in West Texas. I was actually raised Catholic, so I spent the first like 18 years of my life going to a Catholic church and doing all the things that Catholics do, and I always was, interested in, when the priest would talk about scripture and stuff like that, and I was always interested in the Book of Revelation and other things that, were, kind of not normal for the your average, Catholic walk. So, but yeah, I was baptized and confirmed and everything in the Catholic Church. Used to play guitar in Catholic Church. I did quite a bit during that time. Also, did like a lot of other things that were, kind of interesting. Like I did Boy Scouts and ran track and did a lot of extracurricular things like that. But somewhere in there, I think I was about 16 years old or so. Like, um, one of my friends introduced me to alcohol, and then shortly after, um, smoking weed. And so I kind of, it was kind of bizarre. Like I was smoking weed and drinking, but still playing guitar in church. Like it was kind of a crazy thing that I got into.
But that's
But by the time,
real. That
yeah,
is
yeah,
real. You're not the only one, I'm sure.
yeah. So by the time I guess I was, by the time I was 18, 19 years old, by the time I moved out to go to college, like my drug use had really escalated.
You moved
And by
on
the
to
time,
other things.
yeah, there's always something bigger and better,
Sure.
when you're chasing the high. But so by the time I was 20-ish, that time is so messed up in my life, like my memory is not real good. Um, I can't tell you exact dates or how old I was or anything like that, but around 20 years old, like I was like full blown addiction. And so we were drinking and doing drugs every day and pretty much anything we could get our hands on, um, which eventually led to an overdose. And I ended up in the hospital.
Wow.
And that's a whole podcast in itself. But
Yeah.
um, as I was in the hospital and pretty much felt like I was dying, it's very unclear whether I was actually dying or not. Um, but as I felt like I was dying, um, I kind of had like what they call a life review, and I saw everything that I had done in my life and everything that I was doing currently, which was a lot of bad stuff.
Wow.
And it's really hard to describe, but I knew, like, I didn't hear God say anything to me, but I knew that my next stop was going to be hell. Like, it was like an innate knowing that this is where I'm going next.
Okay, can I
And
ask you a question about this? Because this is
yeah,
getting really interesting. So,
uh,
when you're talking about you had a life review, was this like you laying in a hospital bed, just kind of thinking about what is going on in my life, where you were just processing in your mind, just kind of thinking about where you'd been and all you'd done? Is that what we're kind of talking about here?
no, I mean, kinda. It's like
Okay.
I was like dying from an overdose, and it happened about that fast, maybe in 1 second, two
Wow.
seconds. Like
Okay, so were you conscious or unconscious?
at the time, I was conscious, but I
Okay.
felt like I was like looking back on it, I felt like I was transitioning from this life to the next. Um, it was really crazy. There was like a lot of movement around me, like doctors and stuff, and because I had told them that I was having a heart attack, I was so like, you know, embarrassed and ashamed that, I was ODing on drugs. When I came in, I just told them like, hey, I
Yeah.
think I'm having a heart attack.
Yeah.
So they immediately took me to a room, and there was a lot of busyness around me, machines, doctors and whatever. And as I was looking at the clock, like there was this huge clock just right in front of me as I was laying there and I was watching it. And the second hand just kept getting slower and slower and slower. And about the time I had this realization, like every second that goes by is a second that I'm not going to get back. As soon as I had that thought, like boom, like I saw my whole life, like bam. It's hard to describe unless you've experienced it, but you see everything
Wow.
from childhood up. And especially I saw everything I'd been doing for the last, like 4 years or so, because I'd gotten involved with some pretty bad people and done some pretty bad stuff. And as soon as that was over, like I had this like distinct knowing and feeling that like I'm going to hell. Like I knew it. And then I began to feel it.
Wow.
It's really hard to describe. It's like I was here and hell was just like right over there. And I knew that I was about to go there and I could feel what it was like to be there. Um, which was a crazy feeling. I didn't feel pain or like torment or anything like that. The main thing that I felt was hopelessness
Oh,
because
wow.
I knew that I would be cut off from God forever if I went. And
Can I ask you a question? Did you, at the
uh,
time when this happened, did you consider yourself to be a saved person? Had you received Jesus?
no.
Okay. So you grew
Mhm.
up in a Catholic church and you grew up in I'm going to say that system just because you never really connected with God. But
Mhm.
yet you in that hospital bed, you felt like you had not surrendered your life to Jesus. No born again experience. You had done things in the church, even worshiped in the church, but sitting in this
Mhm.
hospital bed did not have a relationship with Jesus and knew that it or felt like hell was imminent.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Like
I
I
just
did
want
not,
to, okay.
yeah, at the time I did
Wow.
not even know what it meant to have a relationship with Jesus. I didn't know what it meant to be born again.
Wow.
Like in Catholic
Yeah.
Church, they talk a lot about God and Jesus and the crucifixion, and they even do the Stations of the Cross, but there's no real connection to, surrendering your life to Christ. And
Wow.
so I'd never really heard the gospel message like that before.
Yeah.
It wasn't until about 12 years after this incident that I heard it for the first time.
Wow.
Um, so in that moment, like I just was like, you definitely don't want to go there. I can tell you that for sure. You do not want to go to hell because there's no escape, there's no second chance, and you are cut off forever.
Wow.
And I knew I didn't want to go there. And I just knew like in my spirit, like I can do better than this. And so I asked God, and in fact, that the exact thing that I asked him was, if you let me get up off this table, I'll do anything that you ask me to do. And I really meant it. And as soon as I asked that, I came back. Like I was there, I was completely aware of what was going on in the room. I actually sat up on the table and I was just sitting there like nothing had happened. It was really crazy. It was a miraculous thing that the Lord did for me. I don't know exactly what he did, but he did something major. And even the doctor came in maybe about a minute after that. And he looked right at me and he said, "We can't find anything wrong with you. You need to go home." And I was like, "What?"
Wow.
Like, I came in here like, like dying. And now
Oh,
you're
praise
telling me
God.
that there's nothing wrong with me. I need to go home. And he's like, "Yeah, you need to go home." He's like, "Yeah,
Wow.
but you need to check in with the desk. Like, you know, you have to like pay your copay or whatever." And so
Right.
that's what I did. I went to the little desk and paid my copay or whatever it was and went outside. My car was still parked there on the curb where I drove myself to the hospital and I went home.
Wow.
Um,
What a story. Okay, so what happened in life after that moment?
so I knew I'd made a promise to God. I
Mm,
didn't know what that meant, but I knew that it was serious and I wanted to try to hold up my end of the bargain, right? I was never able to do drugs again.
wow.
Because of the addiction, I had tried a couple times just because of my circle of friends that was around me. And I tried a couple times, and every time I tried, I felt like I was dying again. And
Mm,
so the Lord made it where I could not anymore.
wow.
I still was drinking. Um, I still drank probably for the next 12 years or so. So mainly it was a lot of just figuring out life again. Because my whole life had been about, I'd somehow managed to stay in college. I don't know how I did that. But my life revolved around the next high, and all my friends were all addicts. And it was very much like that movie Castaway. If you've ever seen that before with Tom Hanks, like when they finally rescue him and they take him back to his life, it's like his life, but it's not his life anymore. That's how it felt. It's like, this is my life, but it's not my life anymore. And so I did finish school and I went on to be a teacher and I had moved to Midland to do some teaching and I met my wife there and then we moved to San Angelo so I could become a counselor and she couldn't find a job and so we ended up moving to Arlington, Texas. So
Mm.
and we had lived there for about I don't know, maybe a year or so. And I just woke up one morning and I was like, I have to go back to church. Like I just had this knowing the Lord just dropped it on me, like, hey, you need to go
Yeah.
back to church.
Oh, I remember having that feeling too. So now at this point in your life, okay, so you're married, right? Have you heard the gospel yet at this point?
Still
Not
have not.
quite yet. Okay, we're
Yep.
getting there. I
Yep.
can't wait. Okay. All
Yeah.
right, continue.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the Lord sent us to Arlington, Texas.
Arlington,
He
Texas.
he put this in my spirit, like, hey, like you need to go to church. And so I talked to my wife. She was like, yeah, I think we should go back. And I was like, well, she was raised Baptist, and the Baptists in my town were not nice people. So I told her, like, I'm not going to no Baptist church. And she was like, well, I'm not going to no Catholic church. And I was like, well, I guess we're going to have to find something in the middle. So we started looking for a church. So we went to a church pretty much every Sunday. We went to a different church for about a year, just searching, going from church to church. Sometimes we get tired of it. And there was actually kind of a cool Catholic church by our house. It wasn't your normal church. And we'd go there for a Sunday or two and we'd figure out this is not for us and we'd start searching again. So actually, the way that I found um, the church where I heard the gospel for the first time was that I was fed up after a year. And I told the Lord that morning, if you don't show me today, I'm done. Like, I'll just go to Catholic church or I just won't go at all or whatever. I'm done with the whole thing. That was literally what I told him that morning. And so we pulled up Google Maps again and there's the map with all the pins on it. And I told my wife, like, just pick one, I'm done. And so she's like, well, let's just go to the first one on the list. And I just looked at the list and I was like, oh, like the second one on there was Grace Community Church. And there was just something about it. Like it kind of stuck out. And I was like, well, let's try that one. And she's like, okay, I don't care. So we went to Grace Community Church in Arlington, Texas. And it was either, I can't remember if it was the first or second Sunday because it's been many years now. But during communion, they gave a short version of the gospel message. And the guy said, if you've never done that, today is a good day. And I was just like, today is a good day, you know,
Wow.
like I want this. Today's a good day. And that's actually like how I got saved. That's how I came to the Lord was just a simple gospel message during a communion deal.
That's amazing. Oh wow, that's so good. I love that. I've been in so many churches and in my lifetime I've visited so many churches and I can't tell you how many will not tell the gospel at all in any part of the service and never give that invitation. And I mean, I've been in churches that I've sat in there for 6 months and never heard the gospel. And I know they're trying to feed the people that are there, and I honor that. But it's so important. You don't know who is walking through your doors that morning that maybe they have been in church all their lives, but no one has extended that hand, that invitation that Jesus gives to everyone. And so, wow, the power of simplicity and just offering. That's
Mhm.
amazing. That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, it is. I've been telling people that for years now because it was so simple. Like even on communion, don't pass up the opportunity. Somebody might, like me, might be out there
That's
and the Lord
right.
may be tapping them on the shoulder that day, so you never know.
Beautiful. I love that. Okay, so now you have a born again experience with Jesus. You've surrendered. You bartered with him for your life. And then 12 years later, you finally actually give your life to him, invite him in. And
Mhm.
so I now we're wanting to get to the part like how did you get connected with Kenya? Is there anything before I move on to that, is there anything else highlighted to you in your journey from that moment before Kenya came into the picture? But I know we're definitely interested in hearing about Kenya.
Just our whole story is so so crazy that um, I should probably write it down in a book or something. But
I think so.
um, yeah, like I
Movie
came to faith,
material.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I came to faith, and then within like a month, it wasn't very long at all. Like they had a ministry fair, and during the ministry fair, they highlight all the ministries in the church, and all of these. So it's in the gym at our church. We have this like gymnasium where they do all kinds of things. They play sports in there, and they have all kinds of events in there. But anyway, they had this ministry fair, and at this particular one, all of the guys that ran ministries all had this little like big name badge thing on. And you were supposed to find the guys that had the yellow name badge or whatever color it was, I don't remember now, and talk to them about what they do. So I walk in, and the very first person that I run into is Wayne Kenyon.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you know Wayne. I mean, a lot of people know
Yeah.
Wayne. Um, so anyway, I was like, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I teach freedom ministry. I was like, that's very interesting. Like, what is that? And he's like, well, you should just come and learn. He really didn't give me like a real explanation of what it was. You know, he just basically told me like we're gonna meet for 12 weeks at my house, and we learn about freedom stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Had no idea what it was. I'm a brand new Christian. I have no idea what freedom ministry is
Oh
or any
my
of that.
goodness. That must be Wayne's MO because I have a history with Wayne too, where I was in his office. That's where I started my freedom journey, not learning to minister, but I started with my own journey, and I show up at his office because I'd had this supernatural encounter and I wanted to find out about more about that supernatural encounter. And then he just says, well, I understand you want to talk about that, but can we talk about you first? And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, not even knowing what I was getting myself into. So I think that's funny. He was such a good father of faith. I really honor him. So, all right. So now you're going to learn about freedom ministry. Go
Yeah.
on.
Uh,
Go on.
Brand new Christian. I end up in Wayne Kenyon's
That's
freedom ministry
beautiful.
training for the next 12 or 14 weeks. It was a long time.
Wow.
And we learned how to set people free from all kinds of, demonic garbage and, just uh, the things that Satan uses against us, for inroads into our lives and open doors and just all that stuff that Wayne taught, and I really absorbed it well. And so I went through the 14-week thing with him. And then at the same time, I was kind of seeing him, like you said, like you just end up talking about your own stuff. So I ended up actually like receiving freedom ministry from him for a while. But during that time, like, like you get towards the end and you're about to kind of get to this point where you're finished. And I never really got finished because every time I would show up, there'd be somebody there and he'd say, "Oh, you're going to help me with ministry today." And so I would sit in with him and I would watch him like minister to other people. And I did that for about like almost 10 years, just watching
Wow.
him minister to other people. And then when he finally, he got up in age and his health got where he couldn't continue, like that's when our head pastor had approached me and asked me to kind of take that position over as he kind of stepped away. And I think it took about another year before I officially like stepped into that role. But that's how that's how I got on staff at the
Okay.
church. Was I
So
became
while
a
you
like,
were in your when you were helping him and in your own walk of freedom ministry, were you still teaching at that time?
yeah, I still worked in the school system at that time. I wasn't teaching.
Okay.
I had moved to counseling, but so I was like doing counseling in the schools all day. And then when I would go to see him, then I was like helping him do like biblical counseling and like freedom ministry stuff.
Sure. Well, I know
Usually
different
most
people. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
usually ended up being freedom ministry stuff. So
I see. I just know that different people transition into ministry different. And so it's interesting to listen to the different stories because God does things differently. And I know there's probably some people watching that they know ministry is on their heart and it's just really important to let God guide that journey. So as you trained and as you received for yourself, I mean, you were still doing a job that God had given you until the ministry door opened, and so you were able to
mhm.
transition that way. That's beautiful. And so then you eventually stepped into the role on staff at your church.
Yep,
Okay,
yep. I
that's amazing.
became the pastoral care counselor or the pastor over counseling and related ministries. There was several ministries that I was overseeing at the time.
Yeah.
Um, and it was during that, actually, like before I even came on staff there. Um, I can't remember how long it was before I actually came on staff, but probably about a year before I came on staff the first time, um, I had been hearing about this orphanage, this children's home here in Kenya that's called Naomi's Village. And I'd heard some about it, and the Lord had kept bringing it up several times. And so just one day we went to church and they were like, "Oh, Bob and Julie are here from Naomi's Village." And they're the founders of Naomi's Village. They actually came from our church and they had come to Kenya many years before and founded this children's home. So I had never met them. I came to church after they had already left and came to Kenya. So anyway, long story short, they were there that day and they're like, "Oh, if you'd like to talk to them about what they do, like you can hang out after church and meet them and talk to them or whatever." So I went and met them and they were super interesting people. They very much wanted to know about, who you are and what you do and very personable. So I was telling them like, yeah, I'm doing counseling in the schools. I work with like pre-K through 18. I do a lot of trauma work. I also do all, I just kind of listed out all the things I do. I do play therapy. I do all these things. Excuse me. And they're like, "Oh, you should come. You should come help us. Like, come help us with the kids." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'd like to come. We'll see how that works." And so that was kind of where it started, the whole Kenya thing. It was
Okay.
actually, I can't remember how long it was after that. It was several months after that. Like I made the first trip. It was
Okay.
in like January of 2019 was
Okay.
I think the first time that I came, and I came with a larger team that was led by one of the elders at the church, and he had been over here several times, and so um, I kind of just, I don't know, I kind of just fell into it, and so we made the first trip over here. I had some amazing encounters with God while I was here in Kenya.
Wow. Yeah.
Like one of the most powerful encounters I've ever had with the Lord was actually here in Kenya while I was here that first trip. And I don't know, I kind of fell in love with Kenya and fell in love with the kids and
Yeah.
just the culture and the people and what the Lord was doing here. And I was just very drawn to it.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand it at the time. But when I went home, I told my wife, like, you have to go. Like, you have to go. You have to go see this for yourself. And so we made another trip that summer. So just several months from the first trip, I think we came in like July or August. We came as a family. And then I came again at the end of that year. So I came three times in like that first year.
Yeah.
Um, and then COVID hit.
Oh boy.
So we started coming in 2019. So that last trip was like at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And actually, while we were here in Kenya, I heard a news report saying not to fly through Heathrow because Heathrow was the hot spot of the world for COVID at the time. And is right at the beginning, they really didn't have a grasp on it yet. They hadn't shut anything down yet. And I was like, "Oh, wow, I'm flying through Heathrow on the way home. That's crazy."
Oh boy.
So we did. We flew home. There wasn't any issues or anything. I didn't get COVID on a plane or anything like that. But once we got back, it was all shut down. We couldn't get back.
Wow.
Um, couldn't get back over here.
Yeah.
So, and then at some point you had to be vaccinated to come back. And I knew that I wasn't going to be vaccinated. So it was during that time that Haven of Hope was born, actually, because we didn't know how we were going to get back over here to serve with the children's home. We
And
had gone to
Haven of
Tanzania.
Hope is your ministry. It's
Huh?
the ministry that you started that God birthed out of your visits to Kenya. Is that right?
Yep. Haven of
Okay.
Hope was, it's kind of a crazy long story. I can kind of tell you a little bit about it. Um, it was like you were talking about, just normal people doing crazy things for God. Like
Yeah.
we never like really set out to start Haven of Hope. Like that wasn't the goal at the time. Um, it just kind of happened. Um, we just kind of had a yes in our heart for Kenya. And so one of the ladies that we had worked with at the children's home um, had been laid off during COVID. There was a lot of people that lost their jobs during COVID. And so she had lost her job here in Kenya. And we were talking to her off and on and trying to encourage her and try to help her find a new job. And during that time of trying to encourage her, like I started to feel like the Lord was saying that she was going to be in ministry. And she started having these crazy dreams like all the time, and they all kind of pointed to ministry. And so we had prayed about it and was just kind of listening to the Lord for several months. And finally, me and my wife like finally agreed, like we really believe that this lady is supposed to be in ministry. And so her name is Grace. And we finally just asked her, like, how much would it cost for you to feed your family every month? and then you can just go do ministry. And she was like, 5,000 shillings should do it, which is like about 40, $45 American. And we're like, oh, okay. So we'll give you that every month.
Wow. Yeah.
And you just
Yeah.
go do what the Lord's calling you to do.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think people in America really understand how in some countries like the American dollar goes a long way and how much they could really
Mhm.
bless and help others just because of the currency difference. That's incredible.
Yeah. So that's actually when Haven of Hope was born. We
Mm.
just didn't know it yet.
Okay.
So we did. We started giving her, we started paying her every month. And she was going out and evangelizing, telling anybody that would listen about Jesus. And
Wow.
I mean, literally everybody. We have pictures of her ministering to drug dealers and
Wow.
prostitutes and people from cults and other
Oh,
religions.
wow.
And like,
Thank
it
you,
didn't
Lord.
matter. So she's very bold when it comes to sharing the gospel with people. And a lot of people were saying yes. And so at the time, we're still living in America, and she's telling us what's happening here and sending us pictures of all this happening.
Wow.
And so we're like, okay, wow, like what do we do with these people? So we're like, oh, we should give them a Bible because Bibles are very hard to come by here. Like
Hmm.
it's not like you can just go to Walmart and get a Bible like you can in
Okay.
America or go to Martell's or whatever, like it takes a little effort. You have to go to a
Yeah.
major town to be able to find one. And so we started giving out Bibles. And then the Lord was like, what are we going to do with these people? He kind of kept just poking at me about it. And so I was like, I don't know, well, what should we do, Lord? And he's like, well, let's start a Bible study. So we started a Bible study. And so by the time we started paying her until the time that I arrived here in Kenya the next time to visit, there was already like 40 or 50 people in this Bible study. And
Wow.
so,
Wow.
yeah, we
That's
have pictures of me
incredible.
sitting in like a room this size, like a tiny little house with me sitting in the middle with just surrounded by people and even people like outside the door. So
Wow.
we're like, wow, we need to like try to find a bigger space. And so we looked all over town and nobody wanted to rent us. And finally somebody said, hey, you should check with this church in town. They have a hall built on the side there, and sometimes they rent it to people. So we went and met with their leadership. They're like, hey, we like what you guys are doing. So we started paying them rent, which is, it's not much, like $20 a month to rent this space. And in a very short period of time, it went from like 40, 50 people to over 300 in a very short time, like a month or so.
Wow.
And so now we had a ton of people, and we didn't know like what to do with all of them. So we just kept doing what we were doing. And during that same time, we also, Grace was like, well, we need to like make this official somehow. And so what we ended up doing was we filled out all this application paperwork and filed it with the Kenyan government. And so in November 2022, we got our certificate from the Kenyan government recognizing us as a community-based organization in Kenya. So since November 2022, Haven of Hope has been an official entity here in Kenya. And since that time, we've like gained a second location that ended up getting very large as well. So now we have two locations here where we do Bible study every week, which Bible study here looks a lot like church in America. It's like an hour of praise and worship and an hour of sharing the word. And then, there may be more praise and worship after that. Um, but we use those two Bible studies as a vehicle for distributing Bibles, distributing food, anything that we need to distribute to the group. We do it through those Bible studies. And then last year we started our first empowerment project, and they wanted chickens. So, which is kind of a crazy deal. But so every member, um, all of our 325 members are getting 10 chickens each to try to start their own flocks or businesses or feed themselves or whatever they wanted to do with them. We didn't specify what they had to do with them, but that was our first attempt at trying to empower the community to do more.
Wow. That's amazing. What would you say? Um, I mean, Haven of Hope is a nonprofit
Mhm.
501(c)(3) here in America. Is that right? Is it registered in the United States?
We are actually under a larger 501(c)(3) called Partners Across Cultures.
Okay. Okay, I gotcha. So what would you say just is your mission there in Kenya? What is it that your goal is? What are you trying to do overall? Just so people can get a handle of like knowing what your heart is for that country, knowing for, what's the goal? What are you trying to reach? What has the Lord called you to do?
So it's kind of twofold. One of the major things that we're trying to do is to spread the gospel. That's one of the big things that we're trying to do. And as we try to mobilize in the next year, there are still some unreached groups in Kenya that we would like to try to mobilize to send somebody to them. Um, that's the harder part of what we're trying to do right now because we're not geared up for it yet. It's coming. So the overall goal is definitely we want to make Jesus famous in our area and in Kenya. That's the number one goal. The other goal is just empowering the community as much as we can, because you don't understand the level of poverty until you come and see it for yourself. I know you've been to some other countries, you've seen some of what I'm talking about, but most of the people in our area live on less than $3 a day. And a lot of those people, it's hand to mouth. So whatever they make that day is, you know, whatever food they get that day.
Yeah.
There's no extra money. There's no bank savings. There's none of that. So anything that we can do to try to raise up some of these people out of that level of poverty, um,
Yeah.
is a good thing. So the chickens were just a start, kind of a get our feet wet with empowerment. And the first groups that receive chickens are actually bringing eggs back to the group now. So
Wow. That's
that's
awesome.
good.
That is
We
good.
should, it is good. Yeah, we should be done with that project by December. So everybody will have received their chickens by December. That's the goal. And then the next project, we are contemplating doing goats on the next one.
Okay.
Goats are a big thing here. They're valuable. It's not like in America. Like I never really ate goat until I came here, but they
Yeah,
also
I've
milk
never heard of
them.
eating goat. I've heard of drinking goat's
Yeah.
milk, goat cheese, but not eating the meat of goat. But that's a thing there.
hmm
Okay.
Yeah. So, the goal for the next empowerment project is to get every member a breeding pair. And
Okay.
so we're going to start with like maybe 20 or 30, maybe like five male and or 10 males and like 20 females or something like that.
Hmm.
And then get it going. And then as we give out pairs to other members, they'll be required to give their firstborn back to the group. And then we will give those to somebody else in the group. So
Wow.
within about 6 to 12 months, the project should start sustaining itself. There'll
Wow.
be enough being born that it will just multiply. It'll accelerate really fast.
That's
Um,
incredible.
and then
That
we'll
is so
figure out
good.
what to do after that. So,
Yeah, I love that. I love what you're doing. You're meeting real needs there in Kenya, but that's unto the gospel. It's unto showing the love of Jesus so that they would ultimately know Jesus. And I love that so much. I know you have so many stories of testimonies of things that have happened connected to being in Kenya with the Kenyan people, and even your own story, which you've kind of minimized a little bit. Like we say, oh, you moved to Kenya, but like that's a whole thing. And I'm sure there was a lot of testimonies in that. It's no easy thing to sell your house, sell your cars, like sell everything you own and just up and move to another country. That's no small thing. But in all of that, in all of the things that you've experienced there in Kenya, all of the things that you've seen, all of the people that you've gotten to know, the relationships that you've cultivated. I'm just asking that you would listen to the Lord right now and share with us a testimony of something that's happened in Kenya that is just unforgettable.
Well, there's a lot of those. Um, I would say the first thing that comes to mind is when I've told you that I had like a super powerful encounter with the Lord here. Um, the Lord really moves here in a powerful way that I've not seen anywhere else. Um, so we see a lot of the Lord doing like crazy healings here. Like I prayed for people. I mean, I was in our house of prayer for over a decade leading prayer, and I've prayed for thousands of people in America, and I've seen people healed in America, but not like we see here.
Wow.
Um, it's more frequent, and you see bigger miracles here like regularly, like I can't see and now I can see, I can't hear, now I can hear. Oh,
Wow.
that tumor you prayed for, oh, it's gone. I can't find it anymore. I mean, that's pretty regular. Like we just prayed for people last Wednesday. So the healings themselves are like, that's a memorable, that's a cool thing. But
Yeah.
the coolest part of the whole thing, um, and I was really noticing it last Wednesday when we were praying for people. Every time I pray for somebody and they get healed, like they're just beaming with the joy of the Lord. They're smiling, they're happy. There's this like joy that comes over them that is really fun to watch.
Wow. That's amazing. Because it's not just a natural experience of experiencing a physical healing, but it's a supernatural experience where they are actually encountering the living God. They're actually feeling his presence, his peace, his joy. And I love that because you're physically seeing it on them. You're seeing it on their face. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really incredible. It really was like, I don't even know what the word is for it. It was really touching me like last Wednesday because you see somebody that's just, they're in pain or, whatever their issue is. Like a lot of times they'll just tell you I have pain in this area because they don't know how to describe it to you. And just to see them like just glowing with the joy of the Lord and they just walk off, I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I am blessed to be able to witness that regularly, but definitely the Lord is doing amazing things over here that I could tell you stories like that all day,
Wow.
of just crazy miraculous things that the Lord is doing over here. And I can't quite put my finger on why it's different. Um,
Yeah.
I've kind of settled on hunger at the moment and expectation, like
Yeah.
and desperation or some of the
Yeah.
things I've kind of landed on because there is no like for most of these people we're praying for, there's not a second option.
Yeah.
If I'm in America and I have chest pain, like if you pray for me and I don't get healed, well, I'll just go, I'll go to the doctor on Monday, like
Yeah.
problem. Like these people don't really have that option for the most part. It's either the Lord's going to heal me or I'm going to suffer, one of the two. And I think in their desperation and their hunger, like the Lord comes through.
Yeah.
Like,
You know, you're saying, excuse me, you're saying desperation and hunger. And while there might be physical hunger there, I think what you're saying is spiritual hunger, right? Just this really deep desire to know God and to know more about him and to receive more from his hand, not in physical blessing, although, our physical needs are real, but the satisfaction within us of knowing God and being connected and loved by him. And so that's real. Like that hunger, that thirst, that's what the scripture talks about as being thirsty, panting for him as the deer pants for water. There's a
Mhm.
thing that when you open your heart and turn it towards God and are hungry for him, there is not a natural good father on this earth that wouldn't turn to their kid that was needing him like that. And certainly our Father in heaven would never turn away a hungry heart like that. And hunger
Mhm.
is, we may not, like you said, have that desperation here in America, because we have other resources. But we can certainly have hunger. We can certainly desire the things of God, and we can follow him, and he will be faithful to lead us into those places where we are more and more dependent on him, regardless of the resources that are available to us here. But
Mhm.
I love the miracles and things that you're seeing over there. That's incredible. Is there anything else you want to share with us? I know we're going to get some more information about you because, man, what you're doing over there is so beautiful and it's just so real and genuine. The word grassroots is kind of thrown around a lot, but really boots on the ground and the genuine heart of Jesus just put out in trying to reach people out there. And I love that so much. But I want to give you an opportunity. If there's anything else you want to share with everyone listening, um, just have this space to do that.
Yeah, just um, coming back to the hunger and thirst thing, like they absolutely have a hunger and thirst here for the things of God that I've not seen anywhere else. I've seen them actually fight over Bibles before because they're so desperate to have one, which we don't see. I have not seen that in America. I mean, maybe there is a place that it happens, but yeah, there's a real hunger and thirst for the things of God here, and they understand. They're very connected to the spiritual world here. Unlike, it's kind of a separate thing in most places of America. I have like my life and my spiritual life kind of separate, but here it's one. They overlay each other. So
Beautiful.
anytime I've ever taught here in Kenya and I'm talking about some heavy spiritual thing or even demonic stuff or whatever, I'm like, do you guys understand? And they're like, oh yeah, we understand that. Like we see it every day, like
Wow.
it's just like a second nature to them,
Yeah.
But other than that, I would say if you have the opportunity, come see it for yourself. Um, there's a lot of amazing things going on here in Kenya. Um, we would be happy to host you here. The children's home would be happy to host you here. Like Kenya is an amazing, if you want to do a short-term mission trip that'll change your life, I highly recommend that you come. It will definitely change you. Even if you just come for 2 weeks and you never come back, it will absolutely change you. It will
Isn't
change your
that
walk with the Lord.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah, we go over there as Americans. We go to these other countries thinking, I'm going to make a difference over there. I'm going to, bring so many people to the Lord and I'm going to do this and that. And then you go over there and you become the one that is changed. That is so true. So
Yeah, it
true.
rocks my world, and it will rock you too if you come.
I'm sure. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm personally going to pray. I have been praying about that actually. And I don't, I'm going to ask our viewers pray about it. I mean, Haven of Hope is probably not the only way you can do a mission trip, but maybe it is one avenue. Their website is available. I'll have James share that, but a mission trip will change your life. I mean, you will have the opportunity to pour into the people of that country, but man, the way that those people and God himself will pour into you, he will respond to the faith that you put forward. And so that is absolutely true. I love that so much. Well, James, there may be some people that you've really touched their heart and you've talked about the little bit of American dollars that makes such a big difference in Kenya because of the rate exchange. And so if there's someone out there that wants to give one time or they want to start a monthly help for that ministry, help get those chickens out, help get the goats out next year, or just some other practical needs of the ministry or the people in your group. Can you share some ways that they can get funds over to you?
Yeah, sure. So the easiest way to get money to us is if you go directly to our website, which is www.havenofhopekenya.com,
Mhm.
havenofhopekenya.com. On it's a very simple web page, but there is a little button up at the top that you can click for donate. It'll take you to another page, and you just kind of have to follow the instructions on that page. Since we are covered by another 501(c)(3). Our donations actually go to them and then they distribute them back to us. Also on our web page, you can find our Facebook page, you can find our YouTube channel. We've started up an Instagram recently. We're learning about that. We're part of the generation before Instagram, so it's a learning experience for us.
Sure.
But yeah, we do try to post weekly on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you want to see like crazy worship, like and prayer, like go check out the YouTube page. Like um, Kenyans pray and worship like nothing I've ever seen before. So
Wow, that's amazing. And all of their donations are tax deductible even here in America because they
mhm.
go through that other nonprofit. Is that correct? So if they're looking
Yes.
for that write-off, that's there, that's
Mhm.
available. Oh man, I love this so much. I love it. I love what you're doing. I love how God took someone that was broken, trying to figure out life. You probably felt in those, years, youthful years when you were going to the Catholic Church, and other people, maybe they didn't start off in the Catholic Church, any church. We grow up in church and we think, oh, I've got it all together. Life is easy. I've got Jesus, check, and but life took a turn and you realize that you had religion, but you didn't have Jesus. And wow, what Jesus did once you had invited him into your life. It's just your story is incredible. I do hope you write it down. I don't know if that's a book. I don't know what God would call you to do with that, but I know there's so much more to your testimony that you just didn't have time to share in this podcast. But I just encourage anybody listening, if you feel touched in your heart at all, to connect with havenofhope.com. Is that right?
Yep.
Haven of
Haven of
Hope.
Hope. Yeah.
Haven of Hope Kenya.com. Is that right?
Yep.
And we're going to put it
Correct.
in the description of this podcast so you'll be able to find it easily. You will be able to find that and connect and be able to see all the things that are happening in Kenya. And James, thank you. Just thank you from the Father for what you're doing for the people of Kenya. There's so many people. There's people here in America that need Jesus. There's people all over the world. But it's so important to just not pick up and do what you know to do where you're at. That's a great start, but it's so important to listen to the Lord and to follow where he is sending you because he wrote out the days in our book before there ever was one, right? And so he knows the purpose and the plan that he has for each person. And so your yes to God, just as he birthed it, just as he led you through these steps and opened these doors for you, your yes has honored him. And so I want to honor you for just your yes to the Lord. And I'm going to encourage anyone listening, if God is calling you, no matter what it is, whether it's a missionary in Kenya or to talk to your next door neighbor about who Jesus is, just say yes because God will put his hand upon that faithfulness and upon your life, and he will lead you to do amazing things. So thank you again, James. Would you just pray, if you don't mind, for everybody listening? Just however you let the Lord, I don't know what that looks like to activate missionaries or just pray that the people would follow the Lord's will. I just want you to follow the Holy Spirit on that and just pray for everyone listening, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. Jesus, Lord, thank you for everything that you're doing through Rhonda and her ministry and everything that you're doing through Haven of Hope, Lord. And Lord, open the eyes of our heart, Lord. Open the eyes of our heart that we might see you clearly, Lord. That we might see the hope of our calling. Lord, I pray for everybody that's watching, Lord, that you show them the next steps, Lord, what you're calling them to. For every person that has a yes in their heart, Lord, what are you calling them to next? And I pray that you give them the courage, Lord, strength, grace that they need, Lord, to take that next step of faith, Lord, to step out onto the waters, Lord, to keep their eyes on you. Lord, give them the strength and courage, Lord, to step out of the boat. walk out onto the waters. Or bless everybody that's listening, Lord. Give them a fresh outpouring of your spirit, that you'd strengthen each one of them in their inner being, Lord, right now with power by your spirit. Just let them have a freshness, Lord. Lord, in Psalm 23, when it talks about laying down in green pastures, being led beside still waters, Lord, pray that for each person listening, Lord. And as they do that, as you lead them through that, Lord, that you would restore their soul. Bless them abundantly, Lord. Again, thank you for everything you're doing in both ministries, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. You know, there's some people in my life that um when they pray or when they speak about the Lord, there's this just this genuineness and this richness of the Holy Spirit that comes through. And they don't have fancy words, and they don't, you know, Paul said, I don't come with fancy words, but I come with the power of the gospel. And that's a history with God, and it's a richness that's there that can only be cultivated in relationship with him. And you're one of those people. And so thank you. I know that people listening could feel the presence of the Lord. And so just thank you for imparting that to us. That was beautiful. So well, bless you, James. I appreciate you being here, and we'll connect soon.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It was a blessing and honor, and it's good to see you again. So.
Yeah, same.